Welcome. Scott here. I will be covering on the upcoming Lost Chapter event, Lofty Souls for Cid Raines from Final Fantasy XIII. The featured units that are synergy for the event are Zack from Final Fantasy VII, Cid Raines from Final Fantasy XIII, Steiner from Final Fantasy IX and Mog from Final Fantasy VI. The event will mark the debut of Steiner LD and Zack Spurs. Raines and Steiner will be getting their C90 awakenings. Steiner will be getting his rework as well. We will be fighting the GroBe Pflaze, which has 24 million HP. The turn requirement for the fight is 80 and the HP requirements is 12,000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the event was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. Firstly, let's go through the LUFENIA plus Orb Conditions. The orb will be activated at the 79% HP threshold at the counter of 10. Every action taken by the unit will downtick the orb by 2. The countdown ability is Tempest plus is an AOE BRV HP Attack where boss will cleanse all debuffs before executing the attack. Upon executing the attack, the orb will reset back to 10. To uptick the orb you will need gain Brave before the unit turns. This can be easily accomplished by using Brave Regen buff or have a unit that provide Regen before turns like Steiner. However, the uptick of the condition will only uptick the orb by 1. Even if you are able to fulfill the orb for every 10 turns, the orb will eventually downtick to 0 and cause the boss use its countdown ability. My recommendation is that you don't worry too much about the orb. Just treat it as part of the boss standard moveset. Now let's proceed with some party setup recommendations. Recommended calls abilities. To ensure that you are able to constantly break them, it is important to inflict defense down debuffs. Example of calls abilities that inflict defense down calls are Ferris, Titus, Jack, and Vanille. To speed up the fight, using HP damage up debuff calls like Karasame, Gabrinth, Lilysette, Fran, Maria, and Ignis are useful. Although a bit trickier to use, Aura type HP damage up calls like Cid and Kimari are also viable. Most recently C90 units have Aura Enchant Call. You can use Dissidia DB Call Finder to find out more. The boss has a regenerative ability that will restore its own HP while emitting a green aura. You need to use launches to break the stance. So bring launch calls will help a lot for that. Launch calls include Dark Knight Cecil, Cloud, Ramza, and Kais. Next, I will be covering units that will be useful to handle the fight mechanics. Like other LUFENIA Plus events, it is always recommended to bring supports for their aura and buffs. They are Garnet, Leela, Eiko, Ramza, Purim, Setzer, Agrias, Katsa, Queen, Ishtala, Bartz, Rem, Lyud, and Sarah. Garnet or Ramza BT plus support will help to trivialize the fight that you could finish the fight before you worry about the boss mechanics. Leela will make the boss attacks a non-issue since the boss don't have any guaranteed hit attacks. If you don't want to play to the orb, you can bring Eiko for the fight. As you will most likely trigger the countdown ability at point of time, you will be facing a barrage of HP attacks. Unless you are doing full evasion strategy involving Leela, damage mitigation is highly recommended. Options include Snow, Core, Gladiolus, Warrior of Light, Beatrix, Orin, Zack, Guy, Bash, and Steiner. Compared to others, Steiner isn't a reliable tank. However, if you pair it with his paltry damage mitigation auras, his power break will make the boss pretty much harmless. For damage dealers, you can consider bring launchers. They are Cid Raines, Cloud, Ramza, Zidane, Lael, Fang, Dark Knight Cecil, Kane, Noctis, and Kais. The boss can inflict frame debuffs with its recast ability, so you might consider Untis that offers debuff evasion. They are Afma, Ignis, Lena, Selphie or Aerith. Selphie and Afma are great supports for launch comps as well. The boss can gain massive Brave with instant break immunity. You need to use either Ignore Defense or Gravity Shaving to reduce those Brave gains. Examples of ignore defense units are Orin, Beatrix, Raines, Ursula and Locke. Examples of gravity brave shaving units are Bartz, Xdet, Edward, and Amidadalia. Selphie and Porum have gravity utility in their kit as well. If she is the new LD unit, Charlotta is also a great gravity unit. I have listed down some additional units that I personally think that they will be useful for the fight. Papa Limo is great for his instant turns, which will help to shave the brave and 400k shields that the boss puts when its recast gauge is full. Quistis is great for her force delays gimmick. Maria's debuff will always set the boss brave to 0 before break them. Redia party-wide evasion will ensure that the party stay out of harm's way. On the screen, you will see a timeline showing the HP thresholds triggers that you need to watch out for. The boss gimmicks don't have much variant compared to the initial event release. The brave reduction auras are more lenient and the boss just have a slight incremental HP. The boss will start off with the offensive posture stance where it enacts a 400,000 HP shield, gain 2 framed buffs with a full recast gauge. It will emit a red aura while the shield is active. The red aura will give the boss significant HP damage boost. To remove the red aura, you need to break the shield. The boss will be immune to delay, including from breaks, and turns deletion. Other than the start of the fight, the offensive posture will also be triggered when the boss's recast gauge is filled and the 49% HP threshold. The boss recast attack is Tempest. It will take the boss 3 actions to fill the recast gauge to its max. It will inflict 2 frame debuffs with the attack. The attack is deadly if the boss has the red aura active. Upon using the attack, the frame turn will be removed. The boss can gain massive brave at the 69%, 49%, and 19% with storing nutrients where they will be immune for instant break until it takes a turn. Make sure you have great brave shaving utility to handle those brave gains. At the 69% and 29% HP threshold, the boss will emit a green aura where it will gain HP regen. To dispel the effect, you need to do a launch. The fight mechanics is the same as the original event, but the difficulty is significant lower versus the original thanks to the recent C90 awakenings, and player have more options of powerful BT auras and powerful supports. As long as you are able to handle the mechanics, this fight shouldn't be too difficult to handle. Now let's proceed with the boss mechanics proper. Like the previous LUFENIA Plus fights, the boss will gain big stats boosts, brave damage, and brave gain reduction auras when you deplete their HP to a certain threshold. The thresholds trigger for this fight is at the start of the fight, 79% and 49% HP thresholds. At the start of the fight, it will boost all its stats by 100%. At 79% HP threshold, it will further boost all its stats to 180%. At the 49% HP threshold, it will boost all its stats to 200% and enter into offensive posture mode. The maximum brave damage reduction auras is 70%. The maximum brave gain reduction auras are 70%. To handle the defense stats boost, you can inflict defense down calls. To handle the brave gain and brave damage reduction auras, you can use brave damage up debuffs like Jack, Sephiroth, or deploy a support with brave damage up like Lena. Rem is one of the rare supports that provide brave gain up. It is important to note that at the 49% HP threshold, the boss will activate storing nutrients along with entering the offensive posture stance. Make sure you have lots of party members' turns before the boss turn so you can handle the 400k HP shield. First of all, let's talk more about the boss offensive posture stance. The boss will activate this stance at 3 instances: the start of the fight, the 49% HP threshold, and when its recast gauge is full. Upon activation, it will delay itself and emit a red aura. The boss will gain 2 framed buffs which boosts its attack and brave damage. The red aura will grant the boss 300% HP damage up with HP damage resist of 70%. Launches will bypass the resistances. The turns will become framed. The boss will become immune to delay, including breaks, and turn deletion. Upon breaking the shield, the red aura will be dispelled. The frame turns will only be removed after the boss uses the recast ability. Thanks to the damaging auras that the boss gains, it is important to break the shields before you allow the boss use its recast ability. It is also not advisable to trigger the countdown ability when the red aura is active. Now let's talk about the boss key attacks, which are the recast ability and countdown ability. Tempest, the recast ability, is a brave gain, AOE BRV HP Attack, which inflicts 2 frame debuffs that affect your party speed and turn rate. This attack will hurt a lot if the red aura is active. As mentioned earlier, it is a matter of time that you will eventually trigger the countdown ability. Always ensure that you have some form of damage mitigation on all times so you can minimize the damage from it. Tempest Plus will result the boss cleanse all debuffs and does an AOE BRV HP Attack. This will reset the orb back to 10. The effects are not damaging, but it is also not advisable to trigger it too often, as your precious debuffs will be cleansed when it got triggered. It is important to take advantage of the attack window when your debuffs are active. On this slide, let's talk more about the other HP triggers aura. At the 69%, 49%, 19% HP thresholds, the boss will gain massive brave gains and it will gain immunity to instant break for a turn. Make use of gravity shaving or ignore defense utility to handle them. Always make sure you have enough turns when approach the thresholds. At the 69% and 29% HP thresholds, the boss will gain regenerative powers aura. Upon activation, you will see green streaks of light emitting from the boss. The aura will grant the boss HP and brave regen aura. The HP regen at the 69% threshold is 480k HP per turn. The HP regen at the 29% HP threshold is 720k per turn. Avoid giving the boss a turn is the best choice to avoid the battle become a fight of prolonged attrition. To dispel the aura, you just need to launch the boss. I have come to the last slide of the guide. On the slide, I have listed down the utility that you need to consider when setting your party for the fight. The first utility is damage mitigation, evasion, and last stand. The boss' 2 major attacks are AOE based and they will hurt a lot without damage mitigation. Bring a designated tank will help a lot. The featured BT unit Zack and LD unit Steiner will help a lot regards to this aspect. You can also consider bringing Porum or Queen for their party-wide last stand utility. You can also deploy Leela or Rydia for a party-wide evasion setup. Rydia LDCA is a very handy utility to have as it offers 3 turns of guaranteed evasion. You can also ensure that the party is kept in a healthy margin with healing like Locke, Maria, or Sidor. If you want extra safety, you can consider bring Eiko and Rosa. The second utility is controlling the boss brave gains. Setzer and Kater can freeze the brave gains with their freeze debuffs. Arcela LD debuff and Yuffie EX debuff can prevent brave gains from the boss. However, do watch out for the countdown ability as the boss will cleanse all debuffs. The third utility is ignoring defense, gravity brave shaving or dealing rainbow brave cap damage. The boss will gain massive brave with storing nutrients that allows it to gain instant break immunity. You need to shave them fast or you will risk of surprise HP attacks. Rainbow brave damage and ignore brave damage are great utility to have. The boss will frame their turns once they enter into offensive posture stance. As they will become immune to break or delays, it is important to get turns to break the shield. Thus, here comes to the fourth utility, which is turn manipulation. You can get more turns by either warping your turns before they could act or force delay them. Turn manipulators like Raines, Afma, Noctis, and Kais are very useful here. Leela is great here since none of the boss attacks are guaranteed hit. Quistis will push them back thanks to her force delay utility. If you can't warp your turns, the other means is to stall their attacks with disable utility. The Queen of Disable, Agrias, will be useful for this with her Faded Mole. Porum and Mog could help, but you need to pray that their confusion procs. You can also make use of guaranteed paralysis with Fang or Cloud. With this, we have come to the end of the boss guide. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked the video, please do give the video a like. Please do subscribe to my channel for future similar content. Bye.